everyone. I'm Lynn Salsi, and I'm delighted to be here, and I'm delighted that Kathy Teets publishes my books, and she has invited me for this very special occasion for Zoom into Books. Today, I want to tell you about my favorite character. His name is Jack. He's the same Jack that you know about, Jack and the Beanstalk. My friend Ray Hicks called him Jack and the Bean Tree. But Jack has many adventures. He originally came from England to America in the early 1800s, probably the late 1700s, in the minds of the settlers. And they came with only the clothes on their backs. They had very few farm implements, and mostly the only book they would have been the King James Version of the Bible. So as they settled, they told stories for entertainment, and the entertainment was mostly about the boy named Jack. So I had the privilege of working with storytellers who never wrote a book because they were simply offering oral tradition and oral history of the stories their families told. Today, you can still find the Jack Tales. Mostly, they're now referred to as Appalachian mountain Jack Tales. And at one time, they were mostly told in the mountains in the winter when people sat around the fireplace, or maybe when the harvest came in, the children were kept on their job because the grandparents would tell the Jack Tales. A lot of people like to talk about the grandfather tales, but in essence, the Appalachian people had as many women telling stories as they did. Kind of thing expresses a generation, but it doesn't really express a gender, because women as well as men told stories, sang songs, and played instruments for entertainment. So today I want to tell you about Jack and the Giant. And the main takeaway from this is that it is fabulous for teaching critical thinking. So if you're at home homeschooling, or if you're in a classroom teaching, or you're just reading your child a bedtime story, you can tell about how Jack thinks on his feet. And in so doing that, it's a great lesson in critical thinking. As a university professor in English, I can tell you that university students in English still need to develop their critical thinking and their analytical thinking. So this is the beginning for children in a book that is literary and content, ancient and storytelling, fits the Common Core curriculum if you're interested in that, and it's all about critical thinking. So let's talk about Jack and the Giant. So here's the cover. So obviously Jack was involved with multiple giants, and you can see there are two big ones on the cover, and you get the idea that Jack might have to conquer those giants because they're quite a bit larger than he. One of the things about the Jack Tales is that Jack and his mother, or Jack and his parents, are living way in the Appalachian Mountains, and they're experiencing cold winters, and they are experiencing the fact that they have to preserve all of their food, and they usually keep their food in a cellar house. And a lot of times they have a lot of shelves in that cellar house. So as we open the story, we see that Jack is waving to his mother. And this story, he's living alone in the mountains with his mother, although other parts of the series, when he's younger, he's living at home with a mother and father and two brothers whose names are Will and Tom. But today, he's leaving home. He is going to go out and seek his fortune. Generally, Jack is always seeking his fortune. But we like to say that he hugged his mother goodbye. He buckled on his belt. He stuck a corn pone in his pocket. He had his jar of water, and he set out. Now, he was just going to seek his fortune, not really knowing what he was going to do. So soon he spotted a piece of wood along the road. He looked at it, and not being a wasteful person, because he was taught waste not, want not, He picked it up and thought to himself, you know, I might meet some varmints on the side of the road, so I will pick up this stick and I will protect myself. So after a while, he sat down to rest, and he took out his little pocket knife and he whittled on it and he worked with it, and he looked at it and thought to himself, I have developed a whomping stick here. So he takes off down the road, because Jack's always walking on a dirt path, a narrow dirt path. He's generally taking the nigh cut, but today he was on the old dirt haul road. So in walking down the haul road, he came to what we called a muddle puddle. And there he could see horseflies buzzing around. And just for no other reason than the fact he was really a young guy, he picked up that whomping stick and bam, came right down on those horseflies. And so he looked and he counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Wow, I got 7 of those insects with one whack. He was mighty proud, and he set off down the road whistling. He finally came to a village because he wanted to find out if anyone needed any work. But he stopped and looked for a few minutes, and he saw a blacksmith hammering horseshoes. I'm looking for work. Do you need a helper? He asked the blacksmith. The blacksmith stopped working, looked at him, and said, Nah, you look too scrawny for my work, but there's a farmer over yonder who needs help clearing land. He might take you on. Jack said, That'll do. I can help on the farm. And before he left, he turned around and looked at the blacksmith and said, Say, Mr. Blacksmith, before I go, please cut words on my leather belt. He took it off, gave it to the blacksmith, and said, Will you put Big Man Jack kills 7 with one whack? The blacksmith obliged, and Jack buckled his belt back on. He tramped off, and he found the farmer, that the blacksmith recommended. Okay. He's out talking to the farmer, and Jack says, I've come to help you clear land. The farmer waved his hands toward the thicket forest. I need all of those trees cleared so I can plant crops, but you look too puny to do heavy work. I may look little, but I'm strong, Jack said. How do you feel about giants? The farmer asked. I'll pay you. Giants? Jack backed away. Then he thought of the money he'd earned. I can handle giants. They're pretty rough, the farmer said. There's a daddy, there's a mama, and they have young'uns. They had 8 heads among them. They carry off a cow when they're hungry and pick their teeth with fence posts. I can't plant nary a seed till they're off of my land. But Dad, Jack said, now where I come from, we use giants for riding horses. Sorry, the farmer said, you look too little for that. So the farmer's calling him out, telling him, you're bragging too much. Sorry, you're just too little. That made Jack fly mad. When he turned to walk away, the farmer noticed his belt. Big Man Jack kills 7 with one whack. Hold on, the farmer called. Are you up to the writing on that belt? Of course I am, said Jack. Come on in, let's talk about it. Let's have supper. The farmer's wife set out more food than Jack had ever seen. He ate squash, fried chicken, cornbread, cabbage, taters, collard greens, gravy, pole beans, apple pie, and fruitcake. There was plenty of fresh milk to drink. Jack decided to save some for later, so he slipped open the little pouch part that was on his belt and dumped food inside. Then he poured some milk in on top of the food to make it nice and sloshy. The next morning, the farmer got Jack up for breakfast. Okay, Jack, I'll give you 1,000 guineas to run off the giants, clear the land for plowing, and you get an extra 500. Whoa, Jack did agree to that. The farmer handed him a big old 2-headed axe. You'll need this. No thanks, Jack said. I only need my whomping stick. He set off, and after a spell, he came to a good climbing tree. He settled on a sturdy branch, and this is my favorite illustration in the whole book, because as the page opens, you clearly see Jack in that tree, and there's the two-headed boy giant. So he's faced with the first giant he has ever seen. So he took the whopping stick and banged it on the branch. Ka-chunk, ka-chunk, ka-chunk. He sat back and rested a spell and started again. Ka-chunk, ka-chunk, ka-chunk. Before long, a two-headed boy giant came up. Who are you? Said the giant boy. Can't you read? Jack pointed to his belt. Big man Jack. The giant boy yelled so loudly the tree shook. What are you doing up there? I'm clearing new ground, Jack said calmly. I've never seen a man clear ground while sitting in a tree. We do it this way in my country, Jack said. I can do a lot of things you can't do. I can do anything, the boy said. Can you squeeze milk from a rock? Jack asked. No, show me, or I'll shake you down and eat you. The boy giant tossed a rock to Jack. Jack jabbed a hole in his pocket with his whittling knife. He squeezed the rock against it until milk dribbled out and landed at the giant's foot. There, the giant boy yelled. Throw me that rock. It must be magic. He squeezed the rock until both of his faces turned red. The rock turned to powder, but no milk came out. That made the giant mad. He shook the tree so hard, Jack had to hold on with both hands. Stop! Watch this, Jack hollered. I can cut open my stomach and show you my guts. Then I'll sew myself back up with a piece of twine. Show me, the giant demanded. Show me. Jack sliced open the pouch. The sloshy food oozed out. After that, Jack took a needle and twine from his pocket and sewed it up. I could do that, the giant boy said. He took out his pocket knife and sliced his belly wide open. Yo! He cried as he ran off screaming in pain, hollering for his mama. Jack climbed down. He stopped a minute and thought, this giant thing might be dangerous. I'd better head home and forget about clearing this land and earning those guineas. So we know that Jack set off to go home. Okay, we're turning the page. It's not behaving. Let me go back. Hold that thought and go back again. There we go. So Jack was thinking, no, I don't think I'll bother. I'm going to sneak on home. Suddenly he heard trees crashing, smashing. Something was heading his way. Jack jumped inside a hollow log, and you can see the hollow log right there at the bottom of the page where Jack is peeping out, right there. He peeped out through a knothole, and what did he see? He saw twins with 3 heads. Oh, we need to find the boy who hurt our brother, one said. I'll smoosh him like a butter biscuit, the other one said. I'll turn him inside out like a raggedy old sock. They yacked so long, Jack was ready to pop out and say, here I am, smoosh me. The giants spied the log. They didn't see Jack, though. One said to the other, don't forget, Mama told us to bring kindling wood, the first one said. He pointed where Jack was hiding. We'll look for that boy later. Let's get this log home. They lifted the log on their shoulders and started down the path. Jack crawled to the front end. He reached out and whomped the giant twin on one of his heads. Hey, why did you hit me? Jack slid to the other end and whomped the other twin. Now who's hitting who? Jack hit the first one again. Then he went back and forth, crawling up and down in the log until he had all 6 heads whomped. The giant twins threw down the log and started fighting. When it got quiet, Jack poked his head out and saw the giants lying in the road. And you can see them too up there. They knocked themselves out. Jack jumped out of the log, tore off down the road. Blinded by panic, he bumped into the old daddy giant who was looking for his sons. Who are you? He roared. I'm Jack. He stood frozen to the ground. Well, my wife's at home sewing up my littlest boy. Are you the man that bested him? That's me, Jack said. I'm helping the farmer clear new ground. Oh, Daddy Giant said, well, my boys can get right rough, but I've never met a human that could beat a giant. Well, don't go any farther. Your twins are spraddled out in the road. Daddy Giant got scared. You should come home with me. We need to talk. Jack was too afraid to run away. That giant was really big. You can see in the picture, Jack looks like a tiny little character compared to the big giant daddy. And then if you look to the right, you'll see, whoa, he was about to meet the big giant mama too. So Jack was afraid to run away. When he got to the cabin, Daddy Giant hollered, Mama, here's that big man Jack who's been whooping on our boys. Mama Giant's big head was bobbing mad. Psst, he doesn't look big to me. I bet he can't squish a squiggly bug. Then she whispered to Daddy Giant, test his strength. Let's play the crowbar game. Daddy Giant picked up a stout crowbar. He picked it up so easily it could have been a feather. He threw it toward Jack and said, okay, throw it back to me. Jack couldn't pick up a giant steel bar. He couldn't even think about it. If you look on the right, you'll see the steel bar was so big, Jack had to stand on it. Instead, he climbed on top of that steel bar and yelled, hey, Uncle! Hey, Uncle! Hey, Uncle, answer me! What are you doing? Daddy Giant hollered at Jack. I'm calling my uncle who lives way over the mountain. He's a blacksmith. He can use this metal bar in his work. When he answers, I'll pick it up and throw it to him. Shucks. Come on inside. Supper's on the table. So here's a really funny picture coming up next, because there they all are gathered around the table with Jack. Jack was the only one eating. The boy giant's belly was sore from the stitches, and the twin giants were too tired from their beating. Mama Giant was very upset. Papa Giant was upset, thinking about how could this little tiny person beat up on my boys. So Jack just sat there and ate enough for 5 people. Daddy Giant insisted Jack spend the night. It's too dangerous for you to walk through the woods alone now. Jack didn't sleep a wink. He sat in the gigantic bed and planned an escape. At dawn, he tried to sneak out, but Mama Giant was waiting. Come over here, Jack. Help me light my stove so I can cook breakfast. Jack took a length of stove wood and helped get a fire going. Then he put his hand up to his ear and said, Hark! What is it, Jack? Mama Giant asked. Oh, I hear my brother Tom calling. He's a lot bigger than me. He says he's coming this way. He pure detests giants. Oh, land! Mama Giant yelled. Hide me, quick, hide me. Don't let that Tom who detests giants get me. Quick, Jack said. Hide in the oven. I'll tell you when he's left. Grandma Giant jumped right in, and Jack shut the door. Then he sat to wait. Soon the others ran into the kitchen and smelled something cooking. They looked for Mama, but they only saw Jack. Daddy Giant said, Where's my wife? Jack opened the oven door, and Mama Giant popped out. She lit out the front door, ran to the creek, and jumped in the water to cool off. Who's next? Jack said, holding the stove door open. The giants got on their knees and said, Please, Jack, don't hurt us. We'll give you all of our treasure. Fetch it out, Jack said. The giants pulled out a chest full of gold and silver and all kinds of jewels. Daddy Giant held up a pair of silver ankle boots. When you wear these, they'll let you travel 40 miles in one leap. Okay, said Jack. It ain't much, but I'll take it. There's only one more thing. What's that? Daddy Giant asked. Get out of here, said Jack, and don't come back. The giants get it all right. They ran straight through the forest. They knocked down every tree, clearing a brand new field. As they raced by the farmer's house, they yelled, We're going to the end of the earth to get away from Big Man Jack. Oh, you know Jack was truly proud of himself because he got the giants to get out of the way. And so we find that there you go. In the end, Jack walked down the mountain. He collected his guineas from the farmer. He put on the magic boots and arrived safely at home in 2 leaps. His mama was so happy she baked the ginger cake. Jack used the money wisely to plant spring crops. He promised his mother they would never go hungry again, and on cold winter nights, Jack warmed by the fire and told his kin how he beat the giants. He kept the magic boots handy in case a giant infestation ever came on his land and he needed a fast getaway. And the giants. I hope you enjoyed the story. I tell a lot of Jack tales because they're heritage tales, and they are also great tales to stage in classroom plays. They're great stories to tell, great stories to read. And I want to say and thank James Young for the happy, peppy, dynamic art, very bright and colorful. And this is a story that all ages enjoy. I would love for you to order the book from Headline Books. Kathy Teets will be happy to send it out. And for the first 10 people who order the book, we also have a special audio CD, and it has 3 stories on it about Jack. I really had a good time sharing this book, and I hope that you enjoyed it too. So thank you for tuning in, and thank you again, Kathy Teets at Headline Books.